Hello, I'd like to talk to you about some natural gas development. Actually, I'd like to refer to it as industrialization. We know there are some positive aspects, good paying jobs, most of which, if not all of which, are subcontracted out, contracted out. Raises some liability concerns at points. Some people are concerned about exporting the gas since we're producing more than we can consume and storing it. This is also a good thing in some ways. It's a stronger U.S. dollar, international and geopolitical strength, and helps with the trade deficit. Unfortunately, we definitely have some costs, and that's what I'd like to talk with you about. Um, Unfortunately, there are also some losses, and that's something that also needs to be considered. Once you drill, you'll never go back. And that's something I'd like everybody to think about. You can watch the rest of this. The issues and concerns relate to land, water, air, and a variety of other concerns. We'll take a look at some of each. First, we'll talk about some of the land concerns when it comes to any type of fossil fuel development. This is Ira, Texas. This is the Yates oil field, a NASA image from space. Shows what would be considered to be the older style conventional drilling. These pad sites, this goes 7 miles by 6 miles. When you move around other parts of Texas, however, you'll see larger pad sites. These tend to be the more recently enabled from 2005's Halliburton loophole. The unconventional drilling. Now, this is a lot of drilling and just conventional drilling around different parts of Texas. I have a video online at the ikno.org website that shows you in some greater depth around the country some of this. I like to show that it's all over Texas in a lot of different places. In fact, Dish, Texas, which is a major pipeline junction point, um, has quite a few pad sites as well. And I like to just show this in particular as a comparative between a pad site, which is generally at least a 5-acre site. You can see that here, relative to a home. You'll see a home. Here's a home, and this is a nice home. It's got a pool, large size. So comparatively to the pad sites that surround it, you'll see some of the land concerns that I'd like to address. This is everywhere, not just Texas, certainly not. Louisiana is at minimum as good. Same with Wyoming. Colorado, there are some issues up around the Rolison area, which was a nuclear detonation right here. Unfortunately, 15 miles from that, in Colbrand, Colorado, there was a landslide. Somehow the media has left that out. They say it's not related to any of the fracking. Um, find that kind of difficult to believe when I look at the condensate tanks at this pad at the toe of that Colbrand landslide. Nonetheless, in addition to the pad sites, we have some other things that we need to talk about. Those relate to, well, let's look at a closer pad. This is the Pittsburgh International Airport, a flyover. Um, you'll see the horizontal or the unconventional drill rig here, the condensate tanks that collect the produced water here. And in particular, these dump trucks are hauling out the drilling mud or waste, the drill cuttings, some other condensate tanks here, a variety of other support infrastructure. Nonetheless, this pad site is under development currently. In addition to the pad sites, though, you can see them with the drilling mud, there are other pieces of infrastructure. Looking at the Susquehanna County area, and fortunately been given the ability to show some of these videos. In addition to the pad sites, water is a tremendous need here, and you'll see these are man-made lakes called impoundments. Also use some brine tanks and so forth. There's compressor stations that take up an equal, in many cases, footprint to the pad sites themselves. This doesn't do a lot for property values and neighbors and some relationships between some of the people. Here's a compressor station. That said, there are some banks that do not provide financing, from what I understand, for properties that have natural gas leases on them. This just is a result too of some insurance issues that generally exempt though, and unfortunately over time this tends to overtake an area, as you could see in some of the other pictures in Google Earth. And I'd like to take a look at Pennsylvania impoundment here. This is was called the Warstell impoundment. Now this is Cecil Township impoundment. It's 500 feet long, 350 feet wide. So these are some definite concerns. That said, can also look at some different images of compressor stations. So they take a variety of different types. Just run a Google search, find that quite easily. Nonetheless, pig launchers, other infrastructure, there are gas processing facilities and so forth, the infrastructure, the pipelines, a lot of eminent domain concerns. That said, it is good for the economy, and it does provide a lot of good jobs. And I will say, I've met many of the workers, and my hat's off to them. Some of the hardest working people out there, and I certainly don't mean anybody any disrespect. Nonetheless, I want to make sure we address the issues that are here. This industry is exempt from the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act, and that is of primary concern to everyone. On the subject of land, I'd like to show you a little video that I shot in Zelienople, Pennsylvania. This is Burr Lane viewing the Mark West facility and natural gas processing. In front here is an impoundment. That's a man-made lake of water used in the hydraulic fracturing processes. Nonetheless, as I go farther ahead here, you'll see some cattle right next to this. Over here to the left a bit. We'll get there soon. In any case, I would like to point out a couple other things. Speaking to property values and home sales, you can see the cattle over here to the left on the farm. Nonetheless, what I'd like to do is I would like to take you to the bend around the corner from that place where you'll see some properties for sale here. It looks like some nice places available. Some lot sites. Would expect a reasonably good deal. In fact, as we come down the road here, I believe there are 4 or 5 properties for sale. I have not followed up to see what their values are, if they've had any luck selling them. There's another place right here, and then a beautiful place up ahead. This is Zelienople, Pennsylvania, near the Mark West facility.
This looks like a very
well-maintained property here.
You know what? If you're interested,
It's for sale.
it's for sale too.
I'd like to just show you a little bit of what the pad sites can look like. They light them incredibly well in the evening for safety, as one would expect. And right around many of our farms here in Pennsylvania, we have quite a bit of development taking place. This is one off of Rhea Road, R-E-A Road, Atlasburg, that I had the opportunity to ride by. It's Maple Street right there. You can see the lighted pad. Now this is early evening. That said, pad site on the right there, and the pipeline runs to the left. They're connected. So you can see it in the day. The evening-wise, though, you can see some of the other things, how they look. This is along Route 70. Some of the steam smoke generator problems. That's not the one. And the last one I'll show you here is getting a little up close and personal with this, riding right along. Many times these are near and around homes, so the light pollution can be a serious concern issue, not to mention noise, smells from the various chemicals, some of the other issues too, just with truck traffic and so forth. So nice unconventional rig up close. There you go. trucks and so forth right around it. Okay, water is one of the biggest concerns, without question. Pennsylvania has generated over 2.7 billion gallons of water waste, produced water from the hydraulic fracking operations through 2014. That equates to just under 300,000 tanker truckloads. That's just the water waste. Has to go somewhere. Where does that go? Well, let's take a quick look and see. Where that goes is into a lot of different impoundments. This is the Worstell impoundment here that's in Cecil. It's now Cecil Township. 500 feet long, 300 feet wide. These are everywhere. These are all over the country. We'll take a look at some in Colorado. They've got quite a few things going on here. Very interesting. These impoundments are 1,500 feet long. It's crazy. And when you see how surrounded by, and this is what things are going to look like, I just want everybody to realize every one of the white dots that you see here is a series of pads. Each pad site can have multiple, and does have usually multiple wells on it. So all of these generate produced water. Most of the unconventional pads are using at least 3 million gallons per frac job. So that said, even our friends in Wyoming have quite a bit of wonderful little impoundments. Boy, don't they look nice. In any case, the water has also resulted in some problems for some people, actually. Here, the study just released April 21st, 2015 says the swarm of Texas earthquakes are linked to the natural gas drilling. And they're saying that it's the result of the injection wells, the wastewater injection wells. Keep in mind, though, each hydraulic fracking operation is its own mini earthquake. And once you get to densities that we see in some of these other locations, Wyoming being another one of them, it becomes more prevalent, and that's what areas of Texas are seeing in terms of the numbers. Oklahoma's the same situation. Ohio, it's been proven as well. So, knowing that the injection wells are a bit of an issue, we are also facing quite a few spills and contamination problems. Not to mention what's taken place with respect to our roads. You know, here's just a quick video of the frac trucks, water trucks. They parade down our 10-ton waste limit. Let me see here. Whole parade of them here. I started it at the end. In any case, and this is indicative, they generally work overnight. Saturday night tends to be a very good fracking night. This operation goes on 24/7. This is not an isolated incident or anything like that. They're all over the place. Here's one in Eldersville Road here. Let's see. This is Fort Cherry Road, actually. You see each of the different sets. And I always try to respect the workers. I don't want to get in anybody's way. I do like to document what I consider to be some of the destruction of our national forests. We've got some of the state forests being developed. The Allegheny National Forest has been drilled tremendously, and it's a major concern in terms of the loss of land. This cannot be utilized for anything in the future. You're not going to do anything. The Moshannon State Forest and S.B. Elliott State Park are perfect examples. A lot of this water is taken from local streams and waterways, and that groundwater is an issue. So when you see this many trucks, that means we're ultimately going to end up with some problems with our roads, which would be no surprise, certainly without any doubt. So it's important for everybody to realize not only do we have a water problems in a lot of areas, Texas, severe droughts, California, Utah, Colorado, even some of the counties in Pennsylvania. So when you see what's going on here, it's not an accident when they're consuming a minimum of 3 million gallons. And an operation like this one would be in excess of 5 million gallons right behind someone's house. So this is why I'd like to call some attention to the issues with water, the consumption, the disposal, and how it's handled in general. The evaporation pools end up with chemical rain, and that's not a legacy that I would like us to leave. I'd like to quickly show another video of a set of water trucks going down through a little town late in the evening, right across from homes and along homes. I did follow these trucks to their site. The amount of dust that's generated when they go down the dirt roads is literally hard to imagine. That said, this is fairly loud when you hear it, actually, if I turn up my volume. Let's see here. So you realize there are homes right there all along the route. So this is Eldersville Road. This traffic goes on in the parades of trucks when you realize each truck holds several thousand gallons, but to get to a couple million requires a tremendous amount of trucks. Friend Vera Scroggins has documented quite a bit over in the Montrose and Susquehanna County areas. This video shows some of the state of the roads that you can see as you come down through this area. The roads are deteriorating horribly. As we move forward here, you'll see that, and I've noted this all over the place. Now, I will say the industry has tried to repair a lot of the roads and do some things to help. Some of this is pretty hard to imagine, and at different times of the year is worse, so I'm not going to beat up on every aspect of it. What I would like you to see, though, the amount of trucks that we've got here. When you realize this type of thing, and you see how many trucks there are, this entire road is lined with trucks. So this is during the day, of course, so not always at night. It makes it challenging for traffic to make it around, but you can get a sense of the volume that is needed water-wise, and several of these will be sand trucks as well. And the sand is not without its issue, too. Got to take a look at a couple concerns there. The silica sand, each of the processing areas, this is a known cancer-causing problem. Silicosis, of course, is a result of inhaling too much particulate with respect to the silica sand. So definitely something that needs to be addressed from several perspectives. Not just in terms of what we see in terms of videos here, but some of the news articles, you know. What I will say is there was a train hauling fracking sand that derailed in Fayette County. Kind of scary, but the train derailments, here we go. Some of the pictures that you can see relating to that. Go away. Right next to a house, that's pretty good. I want to live there. Okay, so I think that gives you a good sense of some of the concerns that may also be worthy of consideration. Air, second big concern, exempt from the Clean Air Act. Unfortunately, nitrous oxide, which is from diesel emissions, add that from all of the truck trips relating to this development, industrialization, sorry. Plus volatile organic compounds, those are generated from each source of the developmental process, from the drilling operations to every one of the condensate tanks, to the compressor stations, to the pig launchers. Each piece of infrastructure generates volatile organic compounds. When those mix with nitrous oxide, which is from the diesel emissions, we get ground level ozone, another cancer-causing problem. I hate to be the bad guy here. Nonetheless, I'd like to just show you some video. This is a site that I shot in Burgettstown, Pennsylvania, that you can see the dust coming off the entire site throughout the fracking process. trucks were for literally at least half a mile long. And as you see this site, the dust is blowing off. Driving through this area, it's hard to actually believe. Not just that, the trucks themselves also generate a tremendous amount of dust just from driving through. This is another area on New Year's Day this past year. The trucks, you can see the dust. It's unbelievable. Everything is coated. So in addition to the diesel emissions, the nitrous oxide, the volatile organic compounds, the dust that's stirred up, it's really a terrible aspect of the problem with air. So each of these things, when we add that to then the silica sand, which is a part of this when they're doing the fracking, another aspect though that we need to take a quick look at relates specifically to the flaring that takes place. Here, a set of flares down in Washington County, Pennsylvania, again shot by Cineplex Rex. His YouTube channel, you can certainly see that. I'll bring the volume down a little bit, though I don't want to diminish. Not only is this one set of flares, I've recorded flares near homes in very nice rural settings. This was 2 well flares. I called them dueling well flares. Unbelievable, the sound. It sounds like jet engines. That said, as impressive as these are, the emissions that you can see coming off of these is really of major concern. You know, that said, one of the most impressive, I don't know if impressive is the right word, of the different flares that I've seen. This is a video that I shot at Claysville Sportsman's Club in Claysville, Pennsylvania, Washington County. This flame was in excess of 100 feet high without exception. Lit up the sky like it was day. You could see it for miles. This was phenomenal. The road was supposed to have been closed. I was able to ride up it without being stopped. You can actually feel the heat. So not only do we have the flares, we also have a pig launcher. This is another component of the natural gas development. The pig launching. It's an aerial view. You can see what this looks like. A definite issue and problem. That said, this can no longer be exempted from clean air. This is ridiculous. And to look at another evening frac job with dust, this was shot by Cineplex Rex. You can see the dust that's emanating from each of these different storage tanks. And I'm not sure how they can mitigate that. I'm just as concerned for the workers here. I really am. I'm around them many times. I respect each and every one of them. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to hurt anybody or discredit. I know you're some of the hardest working people out there. That said, to be breathing this stuff, I'm concerned for you. I'm certainly hoping everybody is wearing some breathing protection. It's necessary not just in these overt situations, but also in these kinds of situations. This is a compressor station. And if you look at this through a FLIR camera, and that's a gas camera, it shows the emissions that come from each of these different sources. As benign as that looked, when you view it through the FLIR camera, F-L-I-R, you can see that it's not benign. Each of these different sources are emitting, that's the volatile organic compounds, and likely some methane. Not necessarily a good thing. So we need to be really concerned about that. And the pipeline development, the pipelines that you see throughout the hillsides. This is great employment. It's good paying jobs. I respect the workers. I hope they're doing a good job on everything, because it is a known fact that the pipelines leak. There's leakage factors built into them. And you can see a pad site right inside here. It's impressive to be able to look at when you get a chance to see it from the air relative to other houses and other things. The pad site and relative to the home that's nearby, it's really hard to put into perspective. Hopefully this does a relatively good job. You get an idea of how this looks, what the impacts are, and you can see what's taken place. I'd like to try to wrap up with a little bit of some of the other issues that, in addition to our truck traffic and the road quality and the maintenance costs and the transportation safety, some criminal activity that tends to come into the areas from transient nature of the workers, and the neighbors and the communities become dissatisfied, divided, because there's some winners and some losers, and other impoundment. Water impoundment, so now you know what that is. And unfortunately, well statistics are showing that on average, the production lives of the wells is really around 3 years on average. It depends on the geology and the formations and the depths and so forth. Nonetheless, that said, if you've got to go back and re-stimulate the wells, I love the terminology. Again, it's using the water. I know the industry is trying to do a good job of recycling it, and that's something that needs to be enforced, period. I think needs to be done in a regional way. Nonetheless, the infrastructure needs to be updated first. The pipelines in our communities. We've got houses exploding, and it's because we've got increased pressures going through old gas lines. So before you put in new things, you need to update the old ones. The well casings in the cement pipe will eventually fail. In fact, industry statistics say that 5 to 7% of the well casings fail immediately or during the hydraulic fracturing process. So that's an issue. In addition to each of these things, we've got pipeline and rail accidents, some explosions that are of definite material concern. So, even the earthquake issue cannot be diminished. Oklahoma had over 800 earthquakes last year, and prior to that, they averaged 2 per year. So these are some serious issues. In fact, just not to mention the fact that the fracking operations do run on a 24/7 kind of basis. So with these things in mind, I definitely want to try to make sure that I point out some of the real concerns. Here, one was killed and one was injured in the water tank or truck rollover in Waynesburg back in July 2014. So, definite problem there. Greeley, Colorado. Unfortunately, lightning sparked a fire, an explosion in Greeley, Colorado. We don't hear this on the news. This just happened. April 17th, 2015. Massive gas explosion. Crazy here. What they don't even tell you is, unfortunately, that when I go to Greeley, Colorado, we're going to take a look at where that was located. Because the media is not helping any of this. Greeley, Colorado. Nice, huh? Unfortunately, Greeley, Colorado's airport is where this is located. The address is provided on this Dutch since 22620 Weld County Road. We can plug that right into Google Earth and go and see it. Right here. Houses right there. Zoom out a little bit. Here's the airport runway. right there. Greeley Airport. When we started this video, I showed you the Pittsburgh International Airport. Wonder if that'll be on the news. Doubt it. Lastly, I would like you to consider going to the website ikno.org. It is a video-based site, but it's got a lot of different links. Marcellus Protest, Protect Our Parks, some experts, environmental issues, some flyovers, well flares, roads and trucks, and at the bottom, some state game lands, county parks, pipeline construction, even some YouTube channels, some other interesting information relating to violations and so forth. And one other thing that I strongly recommend everybody take a look at is Dr. Theo Colborn, the Endocrine Disruption Exchange, known as TEDx. You can get this free DVD, What You Need to Know About Natural Gas Production. Definite worthwhile resource. It is free. You can just click on this link. It'll take you straight to the website. You can request it. I'd recommend you give them a donation. That said, a definite worthwhile resource. Thank you very much.